What up guys, it is Justice here and welcome to another Runescape video. This one covering the new high level mobs that have been introduced into the game this week. The second high level mobs to be introduced into Runescape, the Ripper Demons. This is a first day of release guide, wrapping up everything I found out about this high level mob. This video is going to cover both a melee setup and a magic setup. With this information you can decide which setup you'd prefer to use. This high level mob is very different to the previous Living Wyvern release. Jagex have tried to make it as hard as possible for us to heal and stay above 50% life points within this area, which I'll get onto later and why that's the case. They don't hit as hard as Wyverns, but instead deal small amounts of damage consistently, which builds up to lots of damage over time. This causes a lot of issues for us as players, as this on top of them being immune to stuns mean we can't actually soul split switch and heal as often, and we can't get large resonance heals due to the hits being so small yet consistent. I have yet to find out a way of defeating these without the need to eat food consistently. After a few days a method might be created though, but for now this guide will help you get consistent kills. You're just going to have to bank when you run out of food fairly often. The Ripper Demons have a chance of dropping the Ripper Demon Claws, both a main hand and an offhand. These are both dropped separately. Currently, they are going for around 120 mil for the dual wield, so for both, it's around 80 mil for the main hand and around 50 mil for the offhand, as confirmed by a few people who sold them a few hours ago. They could be lower than that by now, though, by the time you watch this. These Ripper Demon Claws have in fact inherited a similar style of attack as their counterpart Ripper Demons, which have dropped them. So the Ripper Demon Claws, the lower your target's life points are, the more damage you're going to deal. And with the Ripper Demons themselves, when your life points go below 50%, more aggro onto you. So a similar effect there. And with the Ripper Demons themselves, I'm pretty certain the lower your life points get, the higher damage they deal. So be careful there, you should not be going below 50%, but I'm going to get into the mechanics later on in this video. So the location of this high level mob is the east of Alcarid Lodestone. Look on the minimap, you'll see the Slayer Master icon next to the mines. This is Raptor, who will be located here for 1 week only before moving to the next high level mob location, which next week will be the Camel Warriors. The Ripper Demons only attack with melee damage, and so you will be using Protect from melee prayer the entire fight. Now moving on to the inventory. As you can see, I'm using Supreme Overloads, Prayer Renewals, Super Restores. I've got a shield switch if using melee, because the reflectability can work really well when you're using melee, and it will help if you accidentally get a couple of Ripper Demons attacking you at once, or you can just leave the area. Again, moving on to that later on in this video. I've got a Yak with Sharks or Rocktails, it's completely up to you. I was using Sharks personally. I've got an Excalibur, I've got Weapon Poison. This is nice to use here. It hits constant 400s, but it's quite costly. So again, weigh up your options. It is pretty expensive. I've got a Spring Cleaner as the Ripper Demons can drop rune items. I've got a Sign of Life because, yeah, you're going to die a lot here when you start out. I've got a Portent of Item Protection as you're probably going to die quite a bit again, and that will help you protect an additional item upon death depending on what gear setup that you're using. And what I haven't actually used today but might come in handy for some of you who can actually create a decent amount of these and who have a high enough divination level, a Portent of Restoration might come in useful here, as when you go below 50% life points, it will be automatically absorbed and heal you up, and thus keeping you above 50% life points more often, depending on how consistently you get hit. This helps here because once you go below 50% life points, other Ripper Demons will and can aggro onto you, thus targeting the weaker players. But only if the Ripper Demon is not in combat with another player already. And moving on to the very last item within my inventory, which are the Dreadnips. These will help you out a lot here. Now, despite the Ripper Demons being immune to stuns, and I will repeat that, they are in fact immune to stuns, the Dreadnips in fact can still stun the Ripper Demons, and this prevents the Ripper Demons' adrenaline from charging up, and also prevents them from attacking you when they are stunned. So I just want to reiterate that stun abilities from players do not work, but stun attacks from Dreadnips do. I'm going to get into the adrenaline build from Ripper Demons later on in this video. So, gear-wise, well, I actually went for the economical option here. I was going for the cost-effective option here. Usually I go full out, but seriously, the last week with Living Wyverns, the amount of money that I've spent on deaths whilst using degradable items has annoyed me quite a lot. So I'm going for the smarter approach here, which, to be honest, a lot of you guys will probably relate to this who might not have a lot of money. So The gear, I'd advise to take items which you know won't degrade at first until you're confident that you won't die. So I used Bandos with melee and it worked fine. With an upgraded Dark Light, upgraded from completing the Dimension of Disaster quest. I'm using that with an offhand Drygore. Amulet of Souls works nicely as it reflects more damage back onto the Ripper Demons. And essentially, any gear that reflects damage back is great if you want to risk these items, such as the Death Touch Bracelet, which is a Hydrix jewelry item. Vampirism Aura, so Vampirism Aura works nicely as you want to try and stay healed above 50% life points, and the Vampirism Scrimshaw is also pretty damn good. Like I said, my setups here upon death are cost effective, meaning there are limited items degrading when I die. So make sure to leave Death's office. Don't pay his rent for him, okay? Leave that office, go and reclaim your items from your grave. The grave spawns in a safe zone outside the mine, so you don't need to worry about double graving really. And if you do DC on the way to your grave, it just goes automatically straight to death. I'm pretty certain that is legit and true. For a magic setup, Noxious Staff tier 90. If you are very poor though and can't afford Noxious or Drygores, the Staff of Light tier 75 is a nice alternative. It's quite good here, as with 100% Adrenaline you can use its special attack, which reduces all incoming melee damage by 50% for 1 minute, which is great here because you're only getting attacked by melee damage from the Ripper Demons. And I chose a combination of Subjugation, I've got a Tectonic Helm on, and the reason why I've got this bizarre combination of items is because I know when I die, I'll be able to protect the stuff that degrades, and then the other stuff I don't care about because it doesn't degrade, therefore I'm not losing much money, and it's more cost effective. And I'm just going to reiterate this because the KO potential here is huge. It's a lot larger than at Wyverns. You can get KO'd very easily with a lapse of concentration. Eventually though, once you're confident, I would definitely advise taking full Tectonic tier 90 armor if you've got the money for it, and just work it out effectively so you can reclaim it from death for, let's say, about 300k. Just try and work around your items to make sure it's cost effective for you. Ring of Death can work, but each death, remember, it's going to cost around 400 to 500k, and that's why I'm reiterating, only do it when you're confident. Now I'm going to get into the main mechanics of the boss fight, the prominent mechanics. The Ripper Demons do have a higher KO potential, like I said, than Living Wyverns. They also have an adrenaline bar, which you can visibly see charging up. Once this bar hits 100%, there is a chance the Ripper Demon will perform its main special attack, what I call the shadow jump. The Ripper Demon will jump into the air and a shadow will appear on the floor. If you're within the shadow or even next to the shadow, which I found out multiple times, you will get KO'd. If the Ripper Demon does jump into the air, use Escape or Surge to get away from this attack, and then click back onto the Ripper Demon as soon as it reappears. If you're using melee, use the Barge basic ability first after escaping and surging. This way, you will go straight back with an MD, and you won't get a bleed effect. If you are using magic, however, just instantly hit the Ripper Demon when it does reappear. The Ripper Demon will then teleport within melee distance of you and will most likely inflict a bleed effect onto you. This is Slaughter. To negate this, just use Freedom. The main idea is to DPS it enough and stun it enough with your Dreadnought so you can get the Ripper Demon down to at least 2/3 of its life points before it reaches 100% Adrenaline. This way, the Ripper Demon will not use its shadow attack instantly, so its shadow jump attack instantly, and instead, there will be a delay, which should give you a chance then to take advantage of that and kill it before it even jumps, but again, there's a small chance of that happening, so just make sure to make use of your Dreadnoughts as much as possible. Use your Threshold abilities smartly, whether that's Destroy and Assault for melee, or Wild Magic and Asphyxiate for magic. Next mechanic, if you drop below 50% life points, other Ripper Demons close to you that are not in combat will aggro onto you. So make sure you stay high life points. If you do happen to get 2 onto you, all you need to do really is just run out of the cave and back in again, as it is hard to see when one of them's going to shadow jump. Their third mechanic is their bleed effect, which you'll only come across if you're using magic or if you try to run for your life. The quickest way when using magic is to just attack the Ripper Demon. It will then teleport within melee distance of you, and at this point just use Freedom to negate the Slaughter effect, or you can use Devotion, which also negates it because Slaughter is a melee attack which is inflicted upon you and you're protecting melee prayer. If using melee, you won't have the issue of the bleed effect really. However, if you try to walk it, you will, and thus they've implemented an anti-walking mechanic, unlike the Living Wyverns, which you can in fact walk. Their fourth mechanic, upon death, they will transform into a flurry attack, which will damage consistent 900s if you're within the proximity. So run far enough away right after you've killed the Ripper Demon so you don't get damaged by this. Beware though, this attack can damage other players next to it and vice versa, so you can be damaged by other players' Ripper Demons when they are killed. Beware of this, guys. I've died a few times from this. Just to note, you cannot be killed by other players' demon shadow jumps. Just in case people are wondering that, because I did and I tested it out and you can't, okay? That would seriously be OP. That is pretty much the mechanics dealt with. The best place to actually kill them is the west side of the area. This area fits 2 people very well. Any more and it just becomes overcrowded though. 2 people is perfect here, as it's less chance that others will aggro upon you if your life points go below 50%. The other area, there's just a load of them there. It's just a complete mess. And if your life points do go below 50%, you're gonna get piled and you're gonna have to leave the cave. Or of course you could just use Cade and just go crazy and deeps them all, but yeah, that's just a dream. So throughout the fight, you're going to want to rotate Devotion, which is a defensive ability, and it will block all incoming melee damage when praying melee. And you want to rotate that with Debilitate on another kill that reduces all incoming damage by 50%. Keep rotating this as much as possible. I don't use ultimates, instead I just prioritize those defensive thresholds along with DPS thresholds such as Destroy and Assault for melee, and Wild Magic and Asphyxiate for magic. Use Dreadnips as much as possible to stun block, so make sure you get down to Dominion Tower and farm those boss kills. I have no worries because I did it for completionist requirement to obtain all of the journals, and I have, like, literally I have access to 12,000 Dreadnips, so I think I'm okay. Once the Dreadnips are stunning the Ripper Demon consistently, again, like I said, it restricts the Adrenaline build from the Ripper Demon, restricting it from reaching that 100% Shadow Jump ability. And whilst that's all happening, you just got to keep trying to DPS as much as possible to get it down before that does happen. If you're using melee, Reflect with a shield towards the end of the kill seemed to work out really well for me. This goes without saying really, but don't use area of effect abilities such as Chain or Fire Breath for magic, and to be honest, melee AoEs, you're not really going to use these. Don't take a freaking scythe and use Hurricane. You're gonna die, okay? And don't take a cannon, okay? I saw a couple of people taking a Royal Cannon. They got slaughtered. It was so funny. But I know that goes without saying. But you don't know with some people, you know? A legendary pet works really well here to pick up the drops for you if you've got Scavenge. I've killed about 400, or I have killed 400 so far. I personally prefer using magic here as the kills are faster. The Ripper Demons are weak to earth spells, and so you can use Earth Surge or even Shadow Blitz. This ancient spell can reduce your target's damage dealt by 5% for 10 seconds. But melee is more accessible and you don't have to deal with the bleed mechanic, and you can use a Dark Light here which has no monetary value as it's a quest reward. So like I said, try out both setups and make your own decision on this one. It's better GP per hour than Wyverns. It averages out to about 1.5 mil an hour, and which, yeah, it isn't great, I know. But these high-level mobs are all about the RNG drop at the end of it, which are the main drops, such as the Ripper Demon Claws here from Ripper Demons. They also offer about 1.1k Slayer experience per kill, so again, decent Slayer experience if you can get around to killing them. And they're actually pretty good for charm drops, so just make sure you got that Charming Imp on your Slayer belt. What I forgot to mention at the start of the video, the requirements are 96 Slayer, and you can actually get these on task from either the Raptor, who's here just for this month, or Morvran or Curadel. And also, you can get the Ripper Demon Claws off task. Same with the Living Wyverns with the Wyvern Crossbow. And that's why they're extremely rare, because you can get them off task. That was confirmed by Mod Timbo on Twitter. So thank you guys for watching this guide. Good luck grinding out your Ripper Demon kills. Good luck if you just need this guide to get your Slayer task done. Either way, enjoy the content. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.